What's happening, everybody? Okay, so back at the clubhouse once again. Still doing a little home time, doing this little dedicated run for our carrier, trying to help them secure a contract. So we're not gonna argue with it. It has us home like every weekend for the next couple of weeks, and then we're gonna be back out OTR doing our thing. But today we're gonna talk, have a little Q&A session. We've been getting asked a couple of times the same different questions via on TikTok and different social media outlets, and I had a guy actually walk up to me and ask some of the same questions. So today we're going to talk about solo driving versus team driving, as well as same household teams and non-same household teams. So stick around, I'll be right back, and we're going to jump right into it. Welcome back. Okay, so this is going to be a kind of a two-part question, as the first question is going to lead into the second question. So they kind of tie it together, so to speak. So the other day I was pumping fuel and a guy walked up to me, and he was inquiring about the uniqueness of the truck. He had never seen a box truck with a sleeper on it. I don't know how, because they all over the place, but he had never seen a box truck with a sleeper on it, and he was inquiring about the truck and about expediting and everything. So I gave him some basic information, and which ultimately was do as much research as you possibly can before you want to jump into it, or whatever the case may be. But the biggest thing I was letting him know was because he wanted to know if he could run solo. And I was ultimately like, you can run solo, but it's best to run teams, because in most cases people wanted their freight yesterday. And I'm not saying that you cannot be successful as a solo in expedite, especially if you're an owner operator. But the way that this industry is designed, teams typically are more successful. And that has a lot to do with how, what word am I looking for? The way that our miles fluctuate every single week. You'll have situations where for a team, when you have those, relatively bad weeks versus the really good weeks, when you're a team, you can absorb those bad weeks a little bit better. And that part, I'll come back around to that with the second part of the question. But again, in most cases, a customer wanted their freight yesterday, and this is why it's called expedite. So someone that is solo, they can't go from coast to coast and move the way a team moves, because as a solo driver, you are limited to your hours of service. Whereas if you are a team, you can operate typically about 22 and a half hours a day, minus you losing 15 minutes to 30 minutes for doing a pre-trip, as well as doing 30-minute breaks. So it's almost always best to run as a team in expedite. So then he asked me, and here's where the second part of this question comes in. Is there a way that he could do it with his brother. And this second part of the question also falls into a question that we got asked on TikTok the other day. What is a same household team? So going into that, a same household team is a team that basically all of the revenue or all of the money is going into one household, i.e. this guy wants to run with his brother. That is not a same household team because those are two different households, obviously. So the reason why same household teams tend to work out much better than two different household teams is because, going back to what I said about the bad weeks, we sometimes have really good weeks, we sometimes have bad weeks. It happens in what we do. My wife and I as a team can absorb those bad weeks much better than two brothers or two cousins or two sisters or whatever the case may be. Mainly because it's all going into one household, and we're splitting that money amongst each other versus splitting it amongst two different households. So I'm not saying that two different households cannot be successful, because we actually have a team that we're mentoring right now that is a dual household team, and they're doing fine. But that's because it really depends on what your situations are and what your needs are. And both of their needs are very, very minimal. So both of them don't have $1,500 a month rent and car notes and truck notes and all of this kind of stuff. So they're kind of living a minimalist life. So they don't need to go out and make all of this money in order to live and survive. So when it comes down to the same household teams, like I said, we tend to do just a little bit better because we're bringing all of the money into one household, one bank account. So when it comes down to the brother and brother, or two friends or whatever, we saw this work really well with two best friends, and they lived across the street from each other, and they both were retired. And they tried to get their wives to come out and do the expedite thing, but their wives didn't want to do it, so they decided to get their CDL and come out and do it together. So it worked out really, really well for them, and we enjoyed mentoring them because they were a lot of fun. Two much older gentlemen. I think one was in his 60s, the other one was approaching his 70s or something like that, and they were really, really fun to mentor. But those are kind of the differences between the same household team versus a non-same household team, and why same household teams are preferred, because they are the ones that tend to do much better, and they are the ones that tend to last. And then again, going back to the first question, can you be a solo? Absolutely. Is it what's best? Not all the time. Now, granted, in either of these situations, if you're an owner operator, yes, you would do just fine. But if you're leasing your truck from a fleet owner, it's something to consider and do a little more research on, as far as the revenue and the income that you can make as a solo driver, as well as the revenue and the income that you can make as a non-same household team in expedite. So I hope that clears up anything. If anybody ever had that question, as always, please feel free to reach out to Highfield Trucking at highfieldtrucking.com. You can reach out to them via Facebook, Highfield Trucking, and you can also give them a call at this number right here. please be sure to like, click, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we will gladly answer them for you. Please be on the lookout for the next video. I'm pretty sure we're going to do a cooking in the truck video next go around, and along with a Q&A session. So you guys be good, and we'll catch you on the next one.